You are now listening to the War Report Podcast Network.
Welcome on into the Lobtown. It is Auburn versus Texas A&M tonight in Neville Arena, the SEC season opener. Let's do it. Let's step inside the town.
The Auburn Express. You are now listening to the War Report Lobtown Podcast. With your boy Ike Jones.
Welcome on in, everybody. Auburn versus Texas A&M tipping off just at around the top of the hour on the SEC network. Hopefully everybody is having a wonderful Tuesday. Let's get in here and let's talk about it. Auburn versus Texas A&M. If you guys watched my preview, then you already really know my thoughts on the game. Things that I hadn't talked about specifically are some of the matchups and some of the key players in this. So we'll talk about that a little bit today. But I definitely want to hear from you all. So welcome on in, everybody. And, shout out and let me know you're in here listening as we talk a little Auburn basketball. Again, Auburn looking for their first win of the SEC season versus Texas A&M. Bucky McMillan, the new coach of Texas A&M, looking to get off to a 2-0 start when Texas A&M got their win versus LSU at home. It was a home game for Texas A&M in their first game of the season. So, Auburn and Coach Stephen Pearl, like Bucky McMillan, looking to go undefeated at home in SEC play with the win coming up here tonight inside of Neville Arena. Again, Auburn is currently favored by the ESPN matchup predictor, 68.9% chance to win this game. Hopefully ESPN is right and they go ahead and get the dub out here. Vegas has set the line at 6.5, so Auburn by a touchdown should win this game according to Vegas, but 6.5 points there wouldn't be a bad win for this Auburn basketball team. This game is a quad 2 game for Auburn. So currently for Auburn in terms of quads, they are only played one quad 2 game thus far this season, and they got the win in that one. I believe that's the St. John's game, if I'm not mistaken. No, St. John's was a quad 1. NC State. So the last time Auburn home game, NC State, Power 4 opponent, they were able to get the win there. So this will be their second quad 2 game of the season. On the other hand, Texas A&M has played 4 quad 2 games so far this season. They have split those quad 2 games. A loss to Oklahoma State, a loss to UCF. That is where, our guy Keyshawn Hall came from, UCF. They got the loss there. They got a win on the road versus Pittsburgh. Those first 2 games that I spoke of, Oklahoma State was a road game. UCF was a home game. So they lost at home to UCF. Interesting. And then the other quad 2 game was the LSU game in which they just played where they got the win. So losses to Oklahoma and UCF, wins versus what did I just say? Pittsburgh, and at home versus LSU. So definitely been a mixed bag for Texas A&M so far in their quad 2 games. This will be their 5th such matchup this season. And they're looking to try to get a head start here in the SEC. Auburn, again, looking for their first win. I see a War Eagle Steve in here. Appreciate you jumping in here with me before the game. I thought I was going to be in here talking to myself, my guy. I appreciate that very much. But again, Auburn looking to get their first one here in the SEC in the Stephen Pearl era. Steve asked War Eagle Ike, player to watch on A&M side. Yeah, let's just go ahead and dive into that, because when you talk about players who are just going to go out there and flat out be able to score, there's really 2 guys when I look at the film from them, Dominguez and AG, right? Those are the top 2 scorers for the team. Dominguez averaging 13.6 shooting. So let me see how many he's taken. Dominguez has taken 105 3-pointers so far this season. He is shooting 46.7% from 3. Ruben Dominguez. absolutely will just step up and fire that boy off. He has no conscience when it comes to shooting the basketball. He's going to go out there and he's going to let it fly. So he's definitely going to be a guy that you have to look out for. He is a sophomore, 6'6", 213. And again, he's shooting the basketball extremely well, 46.7% from three, 47.5% overall from the field, 90.3% from the free throw line. And he is a guy who gets to the free throw line. Not a lot. He's only shot 31 free throw attempts this season. But when he gets there, he's able to knock them down. And then you're going to have Rashawn Agee as the other guy that I think is going to be a major contributing factor for this Texas A&M team. He has accumulated 13 points per game, 8.4 rebounds per game. So he is a guy who does a little bit of everything for them, 6'7", 231. So he and Hall are going to have some things to contend for there for these two teams. So definitely would look out for those two guys primarily. You've got a team in Texas A&M that shoots 37.6 from three, and they're letting them boys fly this year. They have taken, now, mind you, I said in 3-point attempts, one guy has taken like a fourth of those, right? So they've taken 423 3-point attempts. 105 of those have come from Ruben Dominguez. There's not another player that has more than six. I think the next highest player is 61, and that is with Isaacs there, the guard. And he's shooting the ball well for them this season at 39.3% from the 3-point. So it's a team. If you watch my Freeview show, I talked about how much this team likes to shoot the three-pointer. That is just kind of what happens when you get Bucky Ball, right? Bucky McMillan is a guy who wants to encourage pace. They're going to shoot and try. They don't really have shots that they turn down. If they get a little bit of daylight, they're going to let it fly from three. So that's really what you're going to have to worry about is the 3-pointers and the long rebounds, being able to get back in transition. And this is something Coach Stephen Pearl talked about when he had his pregame presser. He's like, listen, you don't worry about matching up in the open floor. Go find a man and make sure you identify him early when you're getting back on defense so that you can make sure you're not giving up those early threes in transition, because they're going to want to do that. They're very similar to the NC State team that Auburn beat in terms of that, right? NC State was a high-volume 3-point shooting team. They want to get up and down the floor, push transition. In that NC State game, Auburn was extremely sloppy, and this team plays better defense than NC State's not really a great defensive team. Now, Texas A&M is not great defensively, but they get you into this frenetic pace because they're going to be pressing the entire game. So they want to make you get into your offense late so you don't have a lot of time in the half court, because they don't defend particularly great in the half court. So they want to be, they're going to be doing a lot of blitzing of the ball screen. So you're going to have to look at how you're handling ball screen action for Auburn on the offense and making sure that you know where you're going to go with the basketball, because they want to blitz the ball screen and then try to take first pass away and anticipate where that's going to be going. So, but they want to get out in transition, and in transition, they'll take threes, right? And so that's something that you have to look out for. Rylan Griffin, another guy that Auburn fans should be familiar with for this team. Used to be at Bama. So he's a guy who can go out there. He can absolutely shoot the rock. Another mid, 6, I think he's a 6'7" guy as well. Rylan Griffin is 6'5", excuse me. In a game for Alabama versus Auburn a couple of years ago when he was there, I think he had like 5 threes in that game. So another name to kind of be familiar with. But again, this is a team that wants to they want to volume shoot it. It's very much like an Alabama team. Honestly, this is why Rylan Griffin works well in this offense. Get out, shoot a lot of threes, be volume, cause chaos. Now, defensively, they're not very much like Alabama because Nate Oates doesn't press a lot. But this Texas A&M team absolutely will get out and press you quite a bit. So looking forward to seeing how Auburn is able to deal with that press. Also looking forward to seeing how guys like Tahad Pettiford bounce back from kind of the disciplinary thing that happened with him in this last game where he wasn't able to start in that game. Has he taken kind of that tough coaching, what Stephen Pearl likes to call the tough coaching this week, to get himself there and be accountable to what he needs to do and be ready to play heavy minutes in this team? Because Tahad is a guy who Auburn's going to need to be able to break that press consistently because he's such a quick ball handler, and he's a little bit better in terms of just not panicking a little bit when he gets into that press. I liked what he did early in this game from the point guard position. brain freeze. Why is that happening? Caden Magwood, I like what he did early in the game versus Georgia, how he was getting down. And, when he would break the press, he was looking to get downhill a little bit and kind of push the issue versus Georgia. But he's gonna he's gonna need to be a guy who's gonna be able to play some good minutes for Auburn in this one, because I think the way in which Texas A&M presses you is going to strain the guards a lot. So Stephen Pearl's going to need to have his guards fresh at the end of that game so that they're not making the fatigue mistakes that will allow Texas A&M to get back into the game if Auburn has a lead late in that game, or not making the type of mistakes that kind of kill you in close games at the end because you're making those fatigue mistakes. So the guard rotation and the guys who are bringing the ball up versus the pressure, a guy like Sebastian Williams-Adams, who can handle the ball in the open floor, but sometimes has those freshman mistakes where he gets panicky, particularly on like an inbounds and trying to get the ball in quickly so that they're not having to deal with the press, or getting the ball past half court and then getting tentative and getting caught with it, and potentially getting trapped out there. Guys like Kashawn Hall, who can bring the ball up as a guard-like player. What is he going to be able to do in the open floor? KO needs to be able to be a guy who can relieve some of the pressure and get the ball up quickly. So really, this is a game that benefits a team like Auburn that has a bunch of kind of tweener players that can all handle the basketball. Other than Philip Jovich in the open floor, the vast majority of the remainder of this team should be able to handle the ball in the open floor, and that includes Keyshawn Murphy. So now, Murphy isn't a guy that you want to consistently have to do that, but he can, make sure that we get the ball advanced beyond half court so that you're not getting the backcourt violations, and then we can go ahead and potentially get into the offense. But the vast majority of the rest of these guys, again, besides Jovic and Murphy, should be able to bring the ball up. So Auburn, I'm hoping, again, listen, they watch the same tape as me. They understand what they're going against, has worked on their press break and worked on ways to make sure that secondary ball handlers are able to advance the ball and not put themselves in precarious positions to potentially get trapped at the half court there. So looking forward to seeing how Auburn, what the plan they have to go against that, because I believe if Auburn can consistently do well in their press break, they're going to score a lot of early, easy transition or secondary transition buckets versus this Texas A&M team, because this isn't a team in Texas A&M that, again, I don't think that they play particularly great in the half court defensively. They're good because of the way in which they trap in their zone and, again, the ball screen blitzes, but not great in the half court if you can be disciplined with your rotations in terms of moving the ball and not trying to dribble around a lot of this stuff. And you're being precise with where you want to go with it. You're going to find some easy opportunities while they're trying to be frantic and figure it all out. So that's something I'm hoping this Auburn team has gotten themselves ready to go out there and do. I see Habersham Jim has joined us in here. Thank you so much. Heavy, what up? FL Albee is in here, and FL Albee asks, what did Tahad do? That was such a public call out. I don't know the answer to that because he did not say specifically what Tahad did. So all I know is it happened, and Tahad was not able to start the last game because of it. I don't think Tahad not starting impacted whether or not Auburn won that basketball game. So I do think that that was a good chance right there for Stephen Pearl to set some locker room culture around, hey, listen, I don't care if you are, All-American kind of guy. The rules are the rules. We got to make sure that we're abiding by them. So I think it was a good time for him to be able to do that, and they were almost able to get the win there. But listen, almost doesn't count. They got to get dubs, and this is another opportunity to be able to do that. If you watched my preview of this game and my preview of the SEC season, I talked about Texas A&M potentially being one of the games that I felt like Auburn should win. Not just could, I said they could win the Georgia game, and you saw how close that game actually was. They should win this game. This is a game in which Auburn should be able to go out there and put up points. If they're shooting the ball well and handling the pressure well, they should be able to get some good points in transition. This is not a team that overwhelms you on the interior like some of the teams that have blasted Auburn so far this year. This is going to be a mix of like St. John's defensively and NC State, I think, offensively, not in terms of NC State's not the way in which they get their points, but a lot of transition threes and volume shooting three teams. So it's going to be a mix of those two teams. And again, luckily for Auburn, they've seen both of those styles. They've seen that offensive style and they've seen that defensive style already. So they should have a good idea, scouting report wise, how to come in and attack this stuff. So again, looking forward to seeing what the plan is and how they're going to go out there and execute that. I think the other big thing for this Auburn team is staying out of foul trouble, right? I talked about how Hall really was taken out of that game effectively offensively in the last one because he got into the early foul trouble. And then that Georgia team was able to get into the bonus really early in the first half, which affected the way Auburn wants to be able to be aggressive defensively. So if the officials aren't calling kind of what I consider to be very tacky touch foul calls in this game versus Auburn, and they're able to play the style of defense that they need to be able to play, then this game, I think, is one in which, again, Auburn should win. The analytics say that they should win. Vegas says that they should win. The ESPN matchup predictor says they should win. Ike Jones says they can win. Is Auburn going to be able to go ahead and do that? Let's see what else we have out here. Jim says we just got to play smart. I agree with you on that one. Heavy asks, will any of the football recruits be at the game? I do not know at all. Heavy comes back. Just do a little better on the free throws. I haven't even talked about free throws yet. I've been talking for 15 minutes and have not mentioned the free throw line yet. It is something I just don't know that Auburn's going to get better this season on, but hopefully they will shoot better from the free throw line this game and defense, and I think we will win some games this year. I don't disagree with that at all. War Eagle Steve, thank you so much for gifting 5 War Report memberships. If you do not have a membership to the greatest online community in the world, then you won't be able to jump in on our watch party. I do know that some other channels do watch parties that are open to the public. I keep mine with the Green Name Gang, and Green Name Gang, y'all know why. So we gonna make sure that we tap in with that Green Name Gang. Holla at your boy, get your membership active. 5 more people will have access to the watch party and watch along with your boy Ike Jones. FL Albee says Florida's up 15 on GA currently. Florida's a good basketball team. Georgia is a good, not great basketball team. Auburn should have won that game multiple times, man. They've got to find a way to close these games out for sure. John jumps in and says, need this win, have a tough one next against Arkansas. I don't think Arkansas is the next game, are they? I think that's the game after the next game. Let me make sure I'm not making that up. Let's see. Auburn in their next contest. Oh, it is Missouri is the next road game. You're right. So it is Arkansas and then Missouri. So listen, the next 2 games are tough. That Missouri team, I think, is a sneaky good team, and you're playing that one on the road. So I said that Auburn needed to be able to, in my SEC preview, at least split the first 4 SEC contests, and this is the first one that I think is the winnable one. That Texas A&M game winnable. That Arkansas game winnable, but that's a tough one with a top 15 team coming in to play in your building. And then you've got to go on the road to Missouri. So you need to be able to get this one to give you a little confidence and a little momentum going into those next 2 contests. So we'll see what happens with that one. Jim jumps back in and says free throws and defense. Absolutely. See, FL Albee just acknowledging that one. Yeah, man. So I hopefully will see a lot of you guys. Listen, tell me what your thoughts are right here. We got about, about 15 minutes from the scheduled tip off. We'll probably shut this down here in about 5 or 6 minutes, and I'll transition over into the watch party mode for my Green Name. But what are your thoughts? How are you feeling like Auburn's going to do in this one? I know Auburn's a difficult team to predict at this point in the season, and you want to be able to just confidently say they're going to come out and win every game. What are your thoughts on what the outcome of this game is going to be? Drop that right down there in the comment section. Super chat coming in from our guy Heavy, who says GL Dono. Let's see if it works. Oh, GL. I don't know what that's supposed to mean, brother. Good luck. Don't know. Let's see if it works. Oh, you're just saying just good luck on the thing. Got you. Listen. I'm getting you can't speak in shorthand to me, man. He says it's a good luck donation. I got you. All right, cool. Good luck donation. Man, listen, bro. You know what I'm saying? I was just on here the other day thinking that USF was in Orlando. You got to help me out. I know it's easier for you on the show. You got to help me out. Appreciate you, Heavy, though. Appreciate it very much, man. Definitely hope to see you on the watch party here in a few minutes. War Eagle Steve jumping back in says, which Auburn player has the most room for improvement over the rest of the season? The most room for improvement. Good question. Most room for improvement. I think that's Sebastian Williams Adams. I came into this season thinking, when he started, Sebastian Williams Adams was going to be a really big contributor in the small things. And I just don't think he's done enough of those small things so far in this season to be the kind of just imposing physical force on the interior in terms of just bullying his way to the line and to the rim, I should say, and finishing through contact and competing down on the defensive end, particularly against some of the oversized matchups. I just thought he was going to be a guy that kind of no fear, mixing it up in there and really contributing to just winning basketball for Auburn. And he's kind of tapered off in that. And that's a guy I really want to see emerge. I do believe he has a really high ceiling. So he's one I want to see step up. And I think the other one for me that has a high ceiling that hasn't come close to realizing that high ceiling is Elijah Freeman. I think Elijah Freeman has a world of distance between where he is right now and where he could be, particularly on the offensive end. He's been underwhelming at times in games where I think he's, taking bad shots and he's not really hitting open looks from three consistently that I think that he can knock down. He wanted to come off the bench so that he can be one of the bench contributors offensively for Auburn. He needs to step into that role a little bit better. Right now, Freeman is averaging 10.4 points per game, but he is a guy that I think can average closer to 12 to 15 points per game. That's only 2 to 5 more points per game. But if you think about that in terms of he barely played the second half versus Georgia because of the thigh contusion thing. If you get him as a guy who's contributing 12 to 15 points in that Georgia game, Auburn wins in regulation, right? So I think that he's going to be a difference maker in those small things for Auburn, particularly offensively. Defensively, I think he's done well, not great. He still has some room to improve there, but that's the biggest leaps that I see that can still be made there. NH jumps in and says, make free throws and layups. Win, War Damn Eagle. I agree with you, man. The layups probably, listen, again, I don't know that you can improve free throw percentage in the midst of a season. You can definitely work on it a lot more. And I know people are like, practice your free throws. They practice free throws, right? So it's not about practice because practicing doesn't put the same kind of pressure that you get in the game. It's definitely a repetition thing, but they've got a lot of stuff that they got to work on and not just free throws. And they probably practice free throws as much as you possibly can throughout the week. And some of that's got to be individualistic, right? But some people just aren't good free throw shooters. And I just don't think that this Auburn team right now is very good shooters in general, but definitely not great free throw shooters. But the missing of the layups thing, bro, like, come on. Y'all are D1 players. Finish around, and some of them are not like contested situations where you had to contort your body and all that. Like, just go finish at the rim, bro. So I think they need to do a much better job in that department of being able to finish the easier shots around the basket to give themselves an opportunity to not have to be proficient from three, which they have not been. Better, not great from three, shooting 34.7% now as a team, which is an improvement and is a decent. I think if you're around 35%, which is right around where they are, you can be a good 3-point shooting team that will allow you some opportunities. But you've got to be much better, I think, at just making the open ones, right? They miss a lot of open three opportunities, right? Tahad had a wide open one that would have been kind of a dagger in that Georgia game had he hit it, and he short-armed it, man. And some of that is fatigue. Again, he's playing a lot of heavy minutes, even though he came off the bench. But, that's a big moment that you need to be able to knock that shot down, and he just wasn't able to do it. But some of it's shot selection. Some of it is just not being able to get effective offense. So you're getting these late clock 3-point heaves. And some of it's just you're not very good shooters, right? The best shooters on this team, well, the best shooter I would say on this team, Simon Walker, is not playing a lot. I just don't know that he's ready to contribute defensively in the way Coach Pearl wants him to. So you got to find a way to get the kinds of leads that allow you to get a guy like Simon Walker into your rotation so he can go out there and hit some 3-point shots for you a little bit more consistently, or at least be a threat from that. And then you've got to have your guys that can shoot the three well. Looking at Keyshawn Hall, who is the best 3-point shooter on the team by percentage, by volume, right? Like Simon Walker is the best percentage 3-point shooter, but he just hasn't taken nearly as many. But outside of him, you've got Hall, who is shooting at 40% from three. He needs to be able to take and make more of those. And then you've got 37% from Kevin Overton. He needs to be able to be a contributor there. 36% from Keyshawn Murphy, which is really great. And then Elijah Freeman shooting at 36%. And then you've got Tahad down at 30, right? Tahad's the guy that's got to be able to shoot the three ball more efficiently. He was a mid-30s guy, 35 and above guy last year, pushing up towards 40. He needs to find his way back into that kind of 3-point rhythm for this team offensively to be what they can be at their maximum. Speaking of guys who have a lot of room to improve this season, Tahad's having a sophomore slump that he needs to figure out, particularly in his jump shot. A lot more in the mid-range than it is from three, honestly, but definitely he's been underwhelming from three so far this season. All right. I'm going to get out of here because I want to transition over to my Green Name Gang watch party. That watch party should already be available for you. So if you're Green Name, y'all can go on, hop over there because I'm going to be over there in just a minute. If you are not Green Name Gang, appreciate you guys for jumping in here before the game to talk about this. Not a lot of comments from y'all. A lot of y'all watching, not a lot of y'all commenting, but I appreciate you guys checking it out. We definitely are going to get more into this game, post-game reaction, all of that. Make sure y'all tap back in with your boy. I'll be here to do that. But that's it, man. I'm out of here. Make sure y'all like the video, subscribe to the channel, share it with somebody before you leave. Until the next time, and as always, War Eagle. Peace.